since that very first day in MP1, we were definitely all a lot shorter and perhaps slightly more keener too. In fact, the differences between the students you see here today and those 7 years ago in MP1 are endless. Back then, we raced through the hallways, desperate to get to each class on time. Our backpacks were definitely larger, and our locker keys were hanging around chains on our necks in case we should lose them, which is a mistake I know many of us still made. Back then, we spent our lessons making very educational films about Mexican immigrants into America. And 7 years later, we spent our lessons in heated debates about the contents of a fricandel. Over the years, we've not only lost many fellow students, we've seen many teachers come and go. For example, I found myself wondering what happened to the times we could spend our math lessons playing the multiplication countdown games with Mr. George. Later, our standard level math lessons were spent doing actual work and only making an occasional joke about Mandy Yang's intelligence now and then to keep us going. I know a lot of us still remember those many amusing technology lessons with Mrs. Nikolai, who spent a lot of her time telling us to stop banging on the tables. Or way, way back, when our technology lessons were spent in the computer rooms, following the Allison program, learning the valuable lessons of how to start our word. And yet, I'll never understand how so many of us got below 60% on those tests. I would say the expression, what happens at camp, stays at camp, is definitely an expression that can be applied to our year. I can't remember whose decision it was to sleep in one great big tent for DP camp, but I'm pretty sure a lot of us regretted that decision. We were kept awake after a couple of students decided to hold a live game show at 1 in the morning. And I can't remember whose decision it was to pull the all-nighter on the eco-geo trip, but I know that we all regretted that decision the next day as we struggled to stay awake.
Before I start congratulating each of my fellow peers for the feat they have just accomplished, I would like to go back to the beginning of our DP journey, to a simpler time, a time when the CAS reflections were not yet important, and the looming deadlines of the extended essay were yet to come. I would like to bring you back to one of the first English literature classes. Now in this particular class, Ms. Gatley decided to show us a documentary on ancient philosophers' views on happiness. This specific documentary focused on Seneca the Younger. Now, Seneca teaches us that the reason people aren't happy is because they're surprised on a daily basis by what they should expect. In the end, the documentary boiled down to the main idea: aim low and you won't be disappointed. Now, I know in a typical speech, I would be expected to tell you to aim for the stars. However, as my friends know, that's just not how I roll. With this in mind, let's fast forward to the summer of 2012, when we were tasked with completing the extended essay. This 4,000-word academic gem was a culmination of hours and hours of procrastination. While we may have averaged 20 words an hour on Microsoft Word, we broke every single typing record on Facebook. It is fair to say that the class of ISE class of 2013 revolutionized the concept of procrastination. Instead of sitting in front of a computer to work, we were actively searching for new distractions that could postpone the inevitable workload. If you don't believe me, ask my parents, who proceeded to block any and every website that would entice an ADHD-prone child. Unfortunately for my parents, although they tried their best, I found a way around it, just like any good IB student would. Now comes the time to address the dreaded theory of knowledge class. Most of us came into the class believing it was a simple waste of time. While we weren't that far off, it proved to be slightly more complicated than we thought. In this class, everyone's minds were boggled, trying to figure out what a knowledge issue actually was. By the time we got to write the essay, everyone had figured out that it wasn't that hard. All you had to do was add, "How do I know that?" to the beginning of a question, and there you had it, a knowledge issue. In this class, we debated for hours whether or not we should throw the obese man over the bridge to stop the train. We also found out who the future organ harvesters would be. Finally, and most importantly for those in Miss Vine's class, we quickly found out that there was no debate you could win. One way or another, Mrs. Vines would always manage to find that one thing that cast doubt on your entire argument. However, on a darker note, During the last 2 years, students saw intense gang wars erupt between the two leading factions, Sportonk and Walre Blaucheland, something like that. Sorry for mispronouncing, I've simply never heard of this gang. It must be very small and insignificant.
The task we've had to face this year has been finally answering those big questions. What am I going to do with my life after IB? Is there life after IB? Which university am I going to go to? Is it possible to juggle TOK, extended essay, mocks, and apply to universities at the same time? And of course, the dreaded personal statement, which all of us had to write in some form or the other. All of a sudden, those CAS activities that we complained about, we can now boast about to make ourselves more presentable to universities. All of a sudden, those embarrassing pictures on Facebook were pictures that can impede our future prospects. And all of a sudden, those teachers we'd been complaining about for the past 2 years were the people who'd be writing our predicted grades that could be sent off to universities. It's amazing how quickly we all became attentive student pets after we came to that realization. And then, of course, when it came to those all-essential study periods, we actually sat down to prepare for those all-important exams. All of a sudden, we could think about was, when are the universities that I applied to going to respond? Will it be a yes or a no? What if I check my UCAS account one more time? And so the procrastination began. But now, after weeks of stressing, daily panic attacks, and moments when we'd wish we'd just done A-levels, it's finally all over. Now, final exams are no longer 336 hours, 20,160 minutes, and 1,209,600 seconds away. Instead, it's now 4 days, 96 hours, and 5,670 minutes since my last exam.
Now, we are these giants we looked up to. Look how far we've come. Today, we're considered adults, and most of us are leaving the nest to explore the world. Now, parents, I hope you realize what this graduation means for both you and your children. It's the start of a new chapter, a new beginning. Be proud of your children for all they've done, but don't think we've forgotten all that you've done for us. If we're here today, it is in part because of all the effort you have put into our upbringing. It can be quite a feat to put up with us sometimes, and this whole puberty thing doesn't really help. Although you may be surprised by all the excitement we feel by a little ounce of freedom, know that we love you. Now, just so you know how far we've gone, I've asked some of your children to send me some of their past report card statements. It's now time to relive some of the horrors you felt the first time you read these comments. Though Yolk didn't actually give me any of them, he told me that there was over 17 references to poor handwriting in his past report. For Anna, it was, Anna often finds it difficult to keep focused on the job at hand and loses a lot of valuable time in class. Anna is quickly confused by the complexity of a task. The one I found the funniest was Alex's. In ball games such as football, Alex is still very wary of the ball, and he is not yet able to follow its flight. Alex needs to practice his basic movement skills, such as running, hopping, and skipping, which he finds quite difficult. However, the most concerning one was another one from Alex, because even at the tender age of 5, Alex knows how to manipulate his peers. When it came to my own, it was, Nathaniel is easily distracted and does not seem to be able to stay focused on any given task for a good length of time. He has been trying really hard to get his work finished faster and has made some progress, particularly when motivational tools such as recess are used. And Grace is occasionally silly in lessons and sometimes needs to focus her attention back to her work. As you can see, a lot of fun has been had in this building on Venetia's Cloud 43. Whether you realize it or not, together we have forged memories and made friends that we will simply never forget. I would like to thank all the teachers and students, both present and past, who made this whole experience worthwhile. And I would also like all of us to thank Ms. Svolberg, the parent committee, and all the volunteer parents who made this beautiful graduation dinner and ceremony possible. So I think we could all give them a round of applause. They worked hard in making the large mechanics behind the IB diploma run so smoothly.
We would also like to thank Mr. Clemo for constantly reminding us of the precise amount of time we had prior to our deadlines. Thank you for all the effort you put into making sure that the exam process ran smoothly, and for coming to school during your holiday time. Yeah. In particular, we would like to thank all our teachers. Many of you went above and beyond to ensure that we were fully prepared for our exams, providing us with countless past papers, coming into school for extra lessons, and during our exams, provide us with extra support. We really appreciate how you took the time to make our lessons enjoyable. We really couldn't have done it without you, so thank you. And finally, we want to thank you, our fellow students, who made getting through the IB just that much easier. It never stops surprising me how there's always someone willing to help with studying or difficult assignments. And it's definitely going to be hard to say goodbye, but I know that many of us are going to keep in touch.
So just before we go, I'd like to say this last sentence. It's contrarily, no, sorry, I can't pronounce it well. Contrarily, on the contrary, well.
Contrarily.
So the gloomy message I gave you at the beginning, ISE Class of 2013, aim for the stars, for I know you can make it there.
For your future life. And today, as you close the door in your life as a school student, you're opening the door to your new future life. And among you, I'm sure there's a range of emotions. Joy, exhaustion, relief, just to name a few. But I also hope there's some gratitude there. Gratitude for the opportunities that you've been given, and especially gratitude for people who've been there to support you through the last 2 years. Your parents, no matter how much you've made them suffer, and I know you did, they were always there for you. This is a very, very proud moment for them all. And this evening belongs to you, as well as these students sitting up here. Without you, they wouldn't be here. Your fellow classmates, we've heard how important they are to you, and they deserve a word of thanks. Don't forget how many times you've had to lean on them over the last 2 years. And the bonding you've made with each other, I think, will most likely last a lifetime. Here at school, you couldn't have got through the last 2 years without the help of two very important people. Both experienced all your emotions and helped to coax you and push you through the last 2 years. Deadlines, hard work. Your year tutor, Mr. Glover, and we should also mention Mr. Bailly, who was your year tutor to some of you in DP1. And of course your diploma coordinator, Mr. Clement. And of course we can't forget your teachers. The job of a teacher is really not an easy one. But it really is evenings like this that help make it really worthwhile. And I'm sure you'd like to join me again in thanking all your teachers for helping you get to this period.